Hybrid work has stabilised as the dominant working environment in the UK, according to the CIPD report. 74% of organisations now support hybrid arrangements. This shift reflects a move from emergency COVID allowances to building a long-term strategy. With this comes redesigning and optimising IT strategy to get the most out of your organisation's productivity, security and well-being. Today we'll be focusing on the security aspect. Despite the progress and adoption of the hybrid working model, there are still many risk gaps being created. In fact, 41% of SMEs report difficulties in securing devices used at home. 37% admit they haven't upgraded their security policies since adopting hybrid work, and 29% of UK businesses have experienced at least one remote-related security breach in the last year. So what can we do better? I'm joined today by Vlad to discuss how we can build cyber resilience using Microsoft tools and strategies to both empower and keep your team safe. Vlad, welcome.
Hi Aditi, thank you for having me today. I'll do a quick introduction about myself. I'm Vlad Ardelean. I'm a senior cybersecurity consultant here at Wanstor. I've been here for the last 6 years, helping organizations improve and strengthen their security. My expertise is in threat and vulnerability management, Microsoft Defender and Sentinel, identity and access management, and user awareness training.
So as I mentioned, there's quite a few SMEs unprepared for hybrid work. What would you say are some of the most common vulnerabilities and continuity issues that hybrid environments might be facing right now?
Well, there are a few. For example, cybersecurity vulnerabilities, data and privacy risks, business continuity and resilience, endpoint management, and identity management.
Okay, so let's start with identity management. What are the most common vulnerabilities there?
Well, identity risks can start from something as simple as weak or reused passwords for work and personal accounts, which makes credential theft easy. But the bigger issue is often structural, not enforcing MFA on accounts or leaving legacy authentication methods enabled. These gaps give attackers a foothold and for phishing, brute force, and lateral movement.
I see. And then what about endpoint management?
Well, this could really be a weakness. A hybrid working model allows for an expanded attack surface. So you have remote work, cloud services, and bring your own device policies, all increase the entry points or doorways for cyber threats. Then there's the location to consider. Your workers are based in locations where are outside the UK, so there will be varying standards which can also lead to gaps. This is why well-configured conditional access policies is a must. Finally, hybrid setups rely heavily on emails and messaging like Teams platforms, which means they are prime targets for phishing.
And I assume that this plays into long-term issues of resilience and business continuity.
Exactly that. The resilience isn't just about backup and disaster recovery. It's also keeping the people productive during these kind of attacks. With the hardened endpoint baselines and conditional access policies, you reduce the risk of a breach. With Sentinel and Defender XDR automation, you can isolate a compromised device, you can revoke risky sessions, minimizing downtime. So if your laptop is lost or wiped, autopilot and policy-based provisioning gets your device back online in a couple of hours. Hybrid models often have a disjointed recovery plans.
So I suppose that a disjointed recovery plan in hybrid organizations undermines resilience because it affects the ability to detect, respond, and recover from disruptions.
Exactly, which is why having a strategic plan for hybrid cybersecurity is crucial. Crises like cyber attacks or data leaks are commonplace now, but businesses who take time to prepare are better suited to deal with them.
Speaking of, at the end of today's webinar, we'll be sharing a special offer for your organization in line with helping you improve the resilience of your hybrid environment. Keep watching to find out. So now that we've covered the vulnerabilities, let's get into what tools to use and how to stop and prevent attacks in a hybrid environment. So, Vlad, what would you say are the 3 most important Microsoft tools for a hybrid office?
Great question. We have Microsoft Sentinel for centralized visibility, Defender XDR suite, which has Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, Defender for Office 365, Defender for Cloud, and Defender for Cloud Apps, and Entra ID for secure access and ID governance.
Okay, so take me through each one. Let's start with visibility and Microsoft Sentinel.
Sure. So Sentinel is a cloud-native SIEM, or Security Information and Event Management System.
And what exactly does that mean?
So a SIEM provides centralized view of an organization's security posture, logging data from various sources. For example, it ingests logs from Microsoft Defender, from Entra ID, Microsoft 365, VPN, firewalls, and other software as a service sources.
And how does that help with reducing threats?
Sentinel reduces threats in two ways: early detection and faster response. It has a few extremely useful elements, such as unified threat detection, where Sentinel aggregates logs and telemetry from across hybrid environment into a single pane of glass.
So instead of checking every little thing, such as cloud, endpoint, on-prem systems, you will just have one unified place to check all of it.
Exactly. It's very important to have all the pieces of the puzzle when dealing with security incidents. Sentinel doesn't just stop there. It's also AI-powered, uses machine learning to correlate signals and detect sophisticated threats. It can also trigger automated responses to contain threats automatically, reducing the crisis response time and human error. And finally, it's scalable and cost-effective, and it's cloud-native. So it will scale with your organization needs. The pricing for this solution is based on your data ingestion.
Wow, okay, so Sentinel is the watchdog here to sniff out any issues, flag risks, and then respond before the damage is done at a fair price. So what about Defender?
Defender is the shield. It's made out of a suite of products that work together to secure hybrid environments. So, for example, Defender for Endpoint provides advanced threat protection, attack surface reduction, and endpoint response across different operating systems. So it doesn't matter if your end users are on Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, they will be protected. Defender for Identity monitors user activities and behaviors in Active Directory and Entra ID to detect identity-based threats like lateral movement or privilege escalation. Defender for Office 365 secures email, Teams, and collaboration tools against phishing, malware, and business email compromise. Defender for Cloud secures multi-cloud and hybrid workloads by assessing configurations, enforcing compliance, and detecting threats across Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. Defender for Cloud Apps provides visibility, governance, and threat protection for software as a service apps and shadow IT.
So before we move on to Entra ID, can you summarize how Defender provides a unified threat visibility across the layers?
Through centralized security management, cloud security posture management, and advanced threat detection. But it also covers vulnerability management, compliance and governance, and real-time detection and response. Connected to Microsoft Sentinel, this becomes end-to-end XDR for deep investigations, SIEM for broader visibility. The outcome is less noise and faster triage.
So on to Entra ID.
So Entra ID, formerly known as Azure Active Directory, Entra ID is Microsoft Identities and Access Management platform. Because in a hybrid world, identity is the new perimeter. And it's foundational for Zero Trust architecture.
And what is Zero Trust architecture?
Zero Trust architecture is cybersecurity framework based on the principle of never trust, always verify. Basically, it assumes that threats can exist both inside and outside the network. So no user device is trusted by default.
Okay. So Entra ID will ensure that ID is verified before granting access, regardless of where the user is.
That's right. Entra ID uses conditional access, which enforces access policies based on user risk, device health, location, and app sensitivity. It also takes care of identity protection using risk-based detection to flag compromised accounts and enforce remediation actions like prompting for MFA or password reset. Entra ID will also include lifecycle management, which will automate user provisioning and deprovisioning across clouds and on-prem apps, reducing the risk overall of orphaned accounts. Finally, it's also great for compliance and governance, featuring like access reviews, entitlement management, and privilege identity management, or short PIM, to ensure users have the right access at the right time.
Okay, so Entra ID helps you safeguard your organization with ID and access management. Sentinel looks and protects you from risks, and Defender protects your devices and softwares across domains. So how do these three tools interact with each other?
All three tools work together as part of the Microsoft integrated security ecosystem. So Entra ID acts like the identity backbone for hybrid environments. Defender monitors on-premises, Active Directory, and Entra ID for suspicious activity. But it also sends data to Sentinel for centralized analysis. Finally, Sentinel aggregates data from Defender, Entra ID, and other sources.
To recap, Defender is your frontline defense. Entra ID allows you access with confidence, and Sentinel is the brain connecting all the dots. So before we move on to some use cases, we'd like to introduce you to our special offer for webinar viewers. We'll be offering a complimentary vulnerability scanning agent to help you identify and monitor security gaps in your IT environment. So let's get into some use cases now. So Vlad, say that I'm a remote employee and my device has been showing signs of compromise. What would be the best steps here?
So first of all, Defender for Endpoint would detect unusual behavior and flag the device. Sentinel will then correlate the alert with risky sign-in data from Entra ID. Finally, an automated playbook disables the user access, so essentially closes the entry point. It will also isolate the device, stops the spread, and will notify the SOC team.
That's so impressive. But how long does the automation take from the first signal to the point being resolved?
It's near real-time response in seconds, up to a couple of minutes.
So these tools can stop the breach and remediate within a couple of seconds, if not minutes.
That's right. It doesn't matter where you're located, so it's perfect for hybrid environments.
That sounds like a no-brainer. How about this use case? Say that multiple users and devices are attacked across departments with a phishing attack. How would we approach it then?
Well, first, Defender for Identity would detect an attempt at harvesting credentials. Then Sentinel aggregates alerts and launches a playbook to reset passwords, blocking malicious IPs and send alerts to affected users. Finally, Entra ID will use the conditional access policies to enforce prompting for MFA or password change to prevent further compromise.
And all of this can be automated.
Exactly. Automated, scalable, and fast.
So threat detection and remediation can be automated. Let's think about one final use case. Say that we're running a ransomware simulation and it's uncovered a couple of gaps in an IT environment. What would be the steps here?
Sure. This one is heavily reliant on the insights we gain from these tools. So Sentinel will provide some historical threat data and incident trends. Defender will highlight any vulnerable endpoints and any misconfigured cloud assets. Entra ID will simultaneously map critical access dependencies. Together, these insights feed into business continuity planning, ensuring resilience is built on real threat intelligence.
So I know these tools are automated, but let's say that the automation response is slow or it fails. What are the steps here?
Well, there are a few options. First, Sentinel allows you to create automation rules with escalation logic, also known as an automation playbook. If that fails, analysts can manually run playbooks to isolate endpoints, block users via Entra ID, or notify stakeholders through Teams or email. Third, Sentinel also supports SOC analyst intervention through task creation within incidents, guiding analysts through triage and investigation steps. So analysts can escalate incidents to senior staff or specialized teams based on the predefined workflows. Fourth, Sentinel is in sync with ticketing platforms like ServiceNow, ensuring incidents are tracked and escalated within the SLAs. This ensures visibility and accountability across business units.
Okay, so there are a lot of ways to intervene if the automation does fail. You mentioned playbooks. Can you describe what exactly a playbook is?
Sure. Think of it as a set of predefined steps that trigger when a specific alert or incident occurs.
And how customizable are these playbooks for a specific IT environment?
Highly customizable. The workflow is built on logic apps. For example, if Sentinel detects a high sensitivity alert, the playbook can automatically isolate the device in Defender, disable the user in Entra ID, revoke the active sessions, and notify the SOC team in Teams or email, all without manual intervention. So you can also add approvals for sensitive accounts, right? So we have CEOs or CFOs or any C-level executives. You can have semi-automated workflow for control. The goal is to reduce response time from hours to seconds while keeping humans in the loop where needed.
So all of these customizable playbooks can be made in the Azure Logic app, but why does it help to have a managed service provider like Wanstor come in and build defense for your IT environment?
Well, we're certified Microsoft experts. We have a deep technical knowledge of all these tools and processes, allowing us to save you time from thinking and research. So all it takes is understanding your IT environment, and we can tailor these solutions to your organization. Therefore, you can skip the guesswork. Let us design the custom playbook, configure access, and make sure it all works together seamlessly. Having a dedicated SOC team within Wanstor means that we can monitor alerts, investigate incidents, and escalate threats. So your internal teams aren't overwhelmed or delayed in response. As you know, time is critical when dealing with security incidents. Ultimately, we're here to move IT away from break-fix to strategic. By integrating security insights into business continuity planning, risk management, and executive reporting, we make cybersecurity a board-level asset.
Well, there you have it, the tools you need and the team that you need. Thank you so much, Vlad, for your insights there. So just to remind you that we're offering a complimentary vulnerability scanning agent here to help you identify and monitor security gaps in your IT environment. But before we get into how you can claim that offer, let's get into some questions.
Sure, that sounds great. Let's take some questions.
So we have a question here. Oh, a great question here. How do we secure a bring your own device and remote endpoints without affecting productivity? So I assume that people will be using their personal devices. How do we keep that safe?
That's a great question. Considering that more and more companies allowing bring your own devices, we use Intune app protection policies and device compliance policies to make sure those apps are protected and devices secure. And then we enforce them via conditional access policies. So basically, we don't allow any non-compliant device to access corporate data, and this is being blocked by the conditional access policies.
Okay. Oh, this is one that I'm curious about as well. So we know that cybersecurity is definitely a big onset investment. How do we prove value to leadership? What sort of metrics might you show to show that the investment works?
So the cost of a breach is much higher than actually investing in security services. However, we can track metrics from tickets like time to detect, time to respond, time to contain, phishing click rates, for example, or patch SLAs, and Microsoft Secure Score.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember that you can claim a complimentary vulnerability scanning agent to help you identify and monitor gaps in your IT environment. And that is your first step towards having a super secure hybrid organization. After this webinar, look out for an email from me with the webinar recording and a form to claim your scanning agent. This agent can help identify vulnerabilities and take you steps closer to remediation. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Vlad, for all of your expert insight.
Thank you so much, Aditi.